This visual essay is going to discuss the development of illustration practices throughout history. Throughout history, humans have used narrative images to tell stories. The earliest recorded illustrations appear in cave paintings created by Lascaux in 15,000 BC. These images featured continuous pictorial representations or signs detailing important events. In the ancient civilizations of Greece and Italy, art flourished to honor the gods, mankind, and culture itself. In the Middle Ages, narrative pictures appeared in illustrated manuscripts. The Christian belief in sanctity of religious writings was the main reason of the preservation and reproduction of books. Monasteries were a center of cultural, educational, and intellectual activity and provided studio space known as scriptoria for writing, copying, and inspiring books. Beginning in the 14th century, Renaissance artists presented new music, literature, art, and publications that could be mass-produced thanks to Johannes Gutenberg's invention of the mechanical printing process in 1452. The creation and distribution of woodcuts and engravings brought images, ideas, and entertainment to a wide audience and opened up the possibility of experiencing art to those outside the upper classes. With the beginning of the Industrial Revolution in the mid-18th century, printing technology advanced rapidly and more publications were distributed and seen. Illustration became more and more common in everyday life. The illustration profession fully took hold in the early 19th century. British and French cartoonists made their living partly as full-time illustrators, selling etchings or engravings through small gallery-like paint stores and city street bookstores. This made illustrations readily available and affordable. Under the influence of the first generation of successful American narrative illustrators, led by Howard Pyle at the end of the 19th century, a flood of talent entered the field. Publishers soon realized that illustrations helped sell magazine subscriptions and increase advertising revenue. Strong and consistent sales allowed for more original art commissions, and the illustration business was fully established. With the spread of the internet, illustrated newspapers, books, and magazines were seen as affordable entertainment by millions of people. News magazines, family magazines, women's magazines, children's magazines, and literary and art periodicals, satirical and political periodicals, humor magazines, and full-color newspaper comics brought the art of illustration into everyday life. In fact, publishers began to see illustration as a necessary form, and competition among publications for a limited number of quality illustrators led to increased art budgets, higher fees, and greater recognitions of artists. Some illustrators became well-known figures such as Charles Dana Gibson and John Held Jr. and gained high visibility. Walt Disney established himself in the field by producing popular cartoon shorts such as Steamboat Willie, the first animated cartoon with sound, and went on to create feature-length animated feature Snow White and Pinocchio. After a long period of Great Depression and World War II, magazine publishing grew rapidly in the 1950s. Saturday Evening and Look were the last remaining general interest magazines that continued to publish current events, short stories, and feature articles on family life, arts, and entertainment. Women's magazines of the era, such as Ladies' Home Journal and Cosmopolitan, were strong publications with extensive illustrations. The 1980s was the age of illustration, and in the wake of neo-expressionists, art such as the Marshall Arisman and Gary Panter, children's book illustration continued to evolve as a field, presenting a wide range of styles and content. The 1990s encompassed both old and new methods of illustration production. Oil and acrylic painting, watercolor, gouache, pastel, and ink remain primary methods used by most illustrators, but many artists are eager to explore drawing software and learn to use digital tools. Finally, the rapid growth of the internet is another big change in the digital age. Websites require artwork and graphics, which has opened up a new market for freelance illustrators and even full-time jobs for those who can create digital art in the workplace. From the animated televisions of the 1990s and the Walt Disney's Beauty and the Beast, Aladdin, and The Lion King, observing the evolution of the animated films like Toy Story, Shrek, and Finding Nemo exciting people with innovative digitally produced animated films. The relationship between the gaming, comic book, and film industries has become closer, with illustrators playing an important role in the pre-production to help visualize films. The art of illustration is needed for the realization of the movie because the characters are visualized so that the director can gain insight into how the script translates. Illustrators have become part of the filmmaking process and have begun to dominate the process. Contemporary illustrators depict narratives that are slightly different from those told by torchlight in prehistoric caves. Perhaps those expressed by playwrights and poets of the classical world, or perhaps those sung by medieval minstrels. Illustrators might have used the ancient medium of paintbrushes and pens, or perhaps those of the classical world. Paintbrushes and pens, or styluses, that conveyed the movement of drawing to an electronic tablet, but for all the changes, the purpose of illustrators might have used the ancient medium of paintbrushes and pens, or styluses that conveyed the movement of the drawing to an electronic tablet.